One of the scariest things in life is trying to live up to people's expectations. Whenever you make content on YouTube and maybe even have some of your videos go viral, there's this big challenge you have to overcome. People suddenly have expectations associated with you, and the more you put out, the higher those expectations are inevitably going to grow. And that's terrifying. This is a fear that I live with on a daily basis. The fear of disappointing people. It drives my anxiety crazy at times. However, I always try to tell myself, if what I'm experiencing is bad, imagine how it is for some of the biggest manga authors in the world. If they make a hugely successful series and aren't able to follow up on it with another smash hit, imagine what that does to someone's psyche. Not only would it be years and years of painstaking hard work down the drain, but it would also probably be a massive blow to both your reputation and confidence. If a creator were to let their nerves get the best of them and not be able to follow through on these expectations, how can you really blame them? They basically have the entire world judging them at that point. Which is why the Elusive Samurai is all the more impressive. I haven't gotten too many chances to talk about relatively newer Shonen Jump series on this channel, and ooh boy, am I glad the time has finally come. The Elusive Samurai, which debuted in Weekly Shonen Jump on January 25th, 2021, is the newest work from famed manga author Yusei Matsui. You probably know him for his most popular work, Assassination Classroom, which since its debut has garnered incredibly high praise, over 20 million copies sold, as well as anime and live-action film adaptations. Needless to say, many consider Assassination Classroom to be Matsui's magnum opus, and when the manga ended in 2016, I can only imagine the sheer amount of pressure that Matsui felt while working on his next project, the aforementioned Elusive Samurai. Following up on a fan favorite is not easy, but oh man, did Matsui deliver here. And what only makes this even more rewarding is not only did he deliver, but so did Cloverworks, the studio in charge with bringing the Elusive Samurai anime to life. I'm just gonna go ahead and go on record here and say that this is the best looking anime of 2024 so far, at least to me. I don't know what it is about the animation, but the way the characters move looks so unique. Maybe someone with a better eye and understanding of animation can correct me or better inform my thoughts in the comments, but to me, it kind of feels like the frame rate in which the show is animated feels lower than normal, which kind of makes the characters' movements feel just a bit choppier and heavier. I know that sounds like an insult, but it really isn't. It really just makes the show stand out a lot more. Like, this is some kind of piece of art come to life. Though again, I don't really have that much of an eye for this stuff, so please correct me if I'm wrong. That being said, what also adds to this feeling is the anime's striking art style and design. This anime is constantly shifting and experimenting with different methods of animation and art to convey its action and story. Whether it be sensory overload, hyper-realism, calligraphy-styled ink, or even Junji Ito-esque frames like this. This show feels like it's constantly pushing things to 11. Though of course it's not always perfect, there's a few times when the animation takes a massive nosedive. The bow and arrow battle between Tokiyuki and Sadamune being a prime example of this. However, the anime makes up for this by also delivering some of the coolest animation sequences I've seen this year. All the more impressive when you take into account the fact that this anime also has an incredible story. The Elusive Samurai is set between the Kamakura and Muromachi periods of Japanese history, and is very, very loosely based on actual events and figures from that time period. The story follows Tokiyuki Hojo, the real-life samurai and heir to the Kamakura shogunate, who, after watching said shogunate fall after being betrayed by his ally and friend Takeuchi Ashikaga, is forced to flee and slowly regain allies to take back what Ashikaga took from him. Which, if you know anything about Japanese history, does not end well. This poor kid, man, just, oh man. So already we have a very strong start to this anime. I mean, there's nothing to kick off a story like destruction and betrayal, but the crazy thing is that the anime just keeps delivering and delivering. Not only is the plot exciting, the setting interesting, and the world itself beautiful, but the crowning achievement of this anime is how entertaining the characters are. There has not been a single moment in this anime where I've been annoyed or bored by any of the characters that have been on screen. This show can get fairly dark and violent, but what I love is that it's able to balance this with honestly really, really great comedy, which you can't always expect from a shonen battle series. I mean, after all, typically the main point of a series like this is to get you excited, not necessarily make you laugh, but it's still able to do so flawlessly, and I credit a lot of that to who is probably my favorite character, the priest Yurishige Suwa. This character is incredible. Basically, every single time he's on screen, I have a huge smile on my face, not unlike the creepy smile he has for 90% of this anime. Now that I look at it, it looks kind of familiar. I've definitely seen this before. Oh God! The best way I can describe the vibe of this character is if you were to take the genie from Aladdin and turn him into a Shinto priest that can see into the future. He gets some of the best gags in the entire anime, and because he can see into the future, this also allows him to break the fourth wall at times and make more contemporary references. Which, when I first saw this, it kind of caught me off guard, but that honestly only made it even more funny. Though I could see how some people could be put off by this. There's times where it feels like the more lighthearted nature of the anime clashes with its more serious and dark moments. One of the best examples of this is how Tokiyuki only has a few moments to fully come to terms with the fact that his brother has been killed before Suwa interrupts him with his usual antics. I will say though, your mileage will probably vary on how much you're willing to tolerate this, and in the end, it never really bothered me that much, so I'm willing to excuse it. After all, like I said, this anime more than makes up for it because Suwa is only a drop in what is basically an ocean of wonderful characters who all bring something to the table. In particular, I really, really like the villains in this anime. Ashikaga specifically makes for a very interesting antagonist because unlike what you would expect from a traitor, he's actually very polite, mellow, and courteous. He shows a lot of gratitude and kindness for his underlings. Often he carries himself in an incredibly dignified way, and even when he's killing hundreds of people, he always remains calm and level-headed. Honestly, to kind of an unnerving degree, which only adds to the intrigue of his character. You can't be 100% sure if the man is simply playing a facade or if he really is just this way, which is why he makes for such a great threat to our main heroes, the elusive warriors. They always have to stay on their toes, which is especially difficult for Tokiyuki given that he's kind of a pushover when it comes to physical prowess. Because of this, often he can't take the more traditional approach when dealing with the situation, instead relying on his ability to run away and outsmart his opponents, and often having to rely on the strength of one of his retainers. And this is one of, if not the key component that makes the Elusive Samurai such an entertaining show to watch. It doesn't simply give all the power to a single character, not even the main character. Instead, the strengths of each core character feels like they're evenly distributed to where none of them outshine each other. They all work together in unison to further their goals, and because of this, they're all able to shine. And for me personally, that really meant a lot because I think that it beautifully plays into what I found to be one of the main morals of Elusive Samurai's story. As a person, sometimes it's really difficult for me to ask for help. I don't like being a burden to people. If it feels like I'm hampering someone else's potential, that kills me inside. So for a while, I've made decisions based off of that inherent need to do things on my own. And let me tell you, that's a bad idea. Of Of course, there's things in life you should probably do on your own, but to think that you can go throughout life without accepting any help from others, well, that's just not very realistic. And I've learned over the past few years that everyone has weaknesses. You have them, I have them. There's no getting away from that fact. It's just the nature of being human, and part of me can't help but feel like that this might have been something that Yusei Matsui was feeling when he was writing this series. As a human with weaknesses, it would probably be a gargantuan task to follow up on what many think is the peak of your career. I imagine it's really easy to feel isolated and alone in a situation like that. But the thing is, none of us are alone. We should never feel like asking for help or relying on the strength of our loved ones is a weakness, because it's not. If anything, it's one of the greatest strengths that we as humans can rely on. We all have weaknesses, but the ones who care about us have strengths that help us overcome those weaknesses. And in turn, we can use our strength to help them overcome their weaknesses. And that's just something that Elusive Samurai demonstrates wonderfully. Tokiyuki, if he was by himself, would be useless, but as he gains more and more allies, he begins to become more confident in his abilities. And in turn, his friends become more and more willing to fight for him because of his ability to bring out the best in them. I can't say for sure if Elusive Samurai's anime is going to be a massive hit. I just don't know. But I'm really hoping that it does, because this story deserves to be seen by everyone. It teaches us that it's okay to be human and rely on the people around you. A lesson that now I'll never take for granted, because that's how we grow to our full potential. Not only through ourselves, but also through the people we keep by our side.